Hi. Thank you for attending today's reading. Let's begin. Just wanted to share my life story in a place where my mother won't see it. Born in Jan of 1989 to a woman I won't name. Was adopted on the day of my birth. Birth father was killed by his meth head uncle defending his grandmother. Also a meth addict. Spent my early childhood in small-town Wisconsin. Drunk absent father. Drunk abusive stepmom. My right eye only opens a few millimeters because of an abusive accident. Adoptive parents. Divorced when I was only a few months old. My mom got full custody and had to force my dad to have a relationship with me and my brother by dropping us off at his house during the summer and some weekends. I know if it wasn't for her I wouldn't even know my dad. We never told my mom what went on at my dad's house for fear of her cutting off contact entirely. My mom worked real estate and was rarely home. Had a couple babysitters but never daycare. From a very early age we stayed home alone 5 maybe 6. Never actually stayed home. Most of the time after walking home from school we'd just wander the town. Unsupervised. Small shop owners on the main road through town all knew us. Had my first kiss when I was in 2nd grade. Don't remember the girl's name but I can picture her face. We had this sitter when I was 5 I think. Showed me her tits and touched a little. At the time I thought it was awesome but now that I'm in my 30s I realize I was being sexually abused. I was taught how to ride a bike by a girl that lived next door because my parents were never around. First phone call I ever got from my dad was on my 13th b-day. Never any letters, postcards or presents. Fast forward a bit and my mom moves us to Nebraska right before high school starts. Never got bullied. I was 6 feet 1 inch since 7th grade and 220 pounds. Played football for a bit till my knee got badly injured and even after recovery and the doctor telling I can play again I chose not to. I had a crush on this girl that me Andy group of friends called Pink Choker Girl. She wore this spiked pink choker. Never told her about the crush but we became pretty good friends later in life. I had this one Spanish teacher senior year. I caused trouble in his class. He straight up pulled me aside after class one day and told me that if I would just sit there quietly he'd pass me. I took his offer. Graduated class of 2007. Went through college mostly on scholarships. Nothing interesting happened in those years. Lost my virginity when I was 16 at a friend's Halloween party. His older sister was supplying the booze. She was maybe 28-ish. After college I had first gay experience when I was 24 maybe 25 don't remember. I went to a gay club with a close moral support. He hadn't even come out to his parents yet at this point. Had an amazing time. Got a little too drunk and danced with a guy. Kept drinking and talking and ended up making out with this guy for like 10 minutes. In my defense he was gorgeous. He gave me his number and I never called him. Still feel terrible about that to this day. Who knows what might have been if I had just swallowed my pride and embraced the fact that I had a real connection with another man. I ended up falling in love with a girl that I worked with for a while. Told her how I felt. We went on like 2 dates and she told me she doesn't have those feelings for me. Had a couple relationships since but nothing lasting. We're still friends to this day and I'm still crazy about her but can never tell her. I've been suicidal for years. I own several guns and many ways I could do it. Honestly don't know why I haven't yet. Now I'm 32 years old. Manage a gas station. Never did anything with my degree in accounting. I make $15 per hour. I'm content in my current state of life but I wouldn't say happy. Edit. I never expected so many people would read my story. Thank you for all the supportive comments. Much love to all of you. End of story. Next story. Yesterday, my 12-year-old little brother told me to give him a cool topic for a book. I gave him a topic about an army that was going to try and kill God. He just whipped out his laptop and got to work. He showed me this today. I know, it's not perfect, but he's 12 and he wrote this. That's impressive if you ask me. He called the story, God's Will. Calinari always dreaded the final hours before war. The mere thought of him on the front lines charging toward God was not only terrifying, but it felt unbearably stupid. Were the years of training enough? Will it mean anything for the retribution of mankind? Calinari found himself fidgeting with his knife, hands drenched with sweat. He found his way to his squad's campfire. "Calin, sit," said Albio, the bulky Ketvanian, in a deep yet welcoming tone. "Excited to die, Albio?" Calinari said. "No. And by the looks of it, you ain't too fond of the thought of dying either," Albio responded with an unreadable expression. "As usual. You can tell?" Quote, "Ha. I can read you like a book," Albio said as he rested his thick arm on his lap. "I don't know if I can do this," Calin said, covering his eyes with his youthful hands. "You've been training for how long? Like 4 years. And your skill with a sword is undeniable. At the very least you'll survive. Just play it smart," Albio said in a reassuring voice. "Yeah. But you don't understand. Hey guys. I got us basin berries." Sergi interrupted as he abruptly ingested all 7 berries. "Oh, don't let me interrupt," Sergi added. "Like I was saying, guys, did they fill you in on the plan yet? Because I'm in the dark." Sergi interrupted once more, this time talking with his mouth full. "Yeah. Apparently we're going to enter the God's realm with some sort of combined spell," Albio said. Instantaneously after Albio finished his sentence, a horn blew. Gather around, said a faint voice shouting from the rear of the campsite. "Let's get moving," Albio said, as he rushing toward the rear. After a few seconds of hesitation, Sergi and Calin followed. There was a vibrant crimson torch held by Lord Cannel, the leader of the battalion. Cannel took in a deep breath before he spoke. "We are 2 hours away from hell," he said. "The blood of honorable men shall stain the lands. And many of the faces here will cease to exist, men who have pledged their allegiance through pain, suffering, bloodshed, and anguish. For this land will be a symbol of gore. I ask of you this. Surrender your humanity. And pledge your souls. For I will concede pride and glory to the lives we will lose today. Join me on this lionized quest of retribution for the lives lost. Let our death be in glory." Quote. An unsettling moment of stillness struck. No one dared betray the silence. Suddenly, a blaring yet swift gust of wind struck, extinguishing the crimson torch Cannel held. "Ungrateful beings. Who was it that created you?" A vociferous and blunt voice struck out of nowhere, shaking the very earth. Another wind gust struck, but this time 100 times as powerful, sending all the camps flying. Men blown away in seconds. Terrified, Calin clasped onto Albio's shirt with his tiny hands. Albio gave him a look of despair and disappointment. Calin closed his eyes as hard as he could, hoping to escape the horrific reality. But when he lost grip of Albio, Calin opened his eyes to see nothing but dread. Over 20,000 men lay lifeless on the border over Candria. This was the wrath of God. The unyielding power of a being beyond men. Why did I have to survive? Kalen said. I'm no different from my comrades. Why? Kalen said as he walked through the tens of thousands of corpses. He was fortunate enough to find a cliff. Kalen let out a sigh of relief as he slumped himself down the narrow slope. End of story. That is all for today. If you want to support my automated channel, feel free to drop a like and subscribe. See you tomorrow.